एवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादां सर्गं ललितां श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतलेश्वराय भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी भाष्यात्य देशतारिणे आंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्रार्थ पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वांतोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तु मे मदेक बंधो मत्संगिन मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमोस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायन् अतिनीचोच्चताकर आनमंशिला चिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृत्कण्ठयो स्फुर। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओके 1.1.2 Srila Swami introduces this verse. Did I not read the Sridhar Swami? No.
No, Prabhu. You read, Prabhu, you read.
I read it fully.
Yes.
And that means I would have read the translation of this also. Did I read the translation of this? I'm myself
No.
because there are other discussions in Bhagavatam that I'm also doing, so I myself am confused in this batch where I stopped. Anyway, I'll assume I have not done it. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. If it's the second time, tolerate it. Text 2. Dharma prajita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivatam tapatrayan mulanam. I thought I explained this Sridhar Swami's commentary.
No, I think.
He explained, but you did not read for Prabhupada.
Yeah, I did not read that. So I would have read Prabhupada's translation, I think. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Prayer Ishvara Sadhya Hridya Varudhyate Trikati Shushupistakshanath. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears a message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Religion includes 4 primary subjects. Prabhupada is actually talking about the word dharma, dharma prajita. That is the first word of this verse. Namely, pious activities, economic development, satisfaction of the senses, and finally liberation from material bondage. Irreligious life is a barbarous condition. Indeed, human life begins when religion begins. Eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating are the 4 principles of animal life. These are common both to animals and to human beings. But religion is the extra function of the human being. This is a straightforward rendition of a famous verse. Ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha samanametam
Pasubhe
naranam dharmo hieko adikeshesho dharmena hina pasubhis samana. Therefore, in human societies, there is some form of religion which aims at self-realization and which makes reference to man's eternal relationship with God. All monotheistic religions have elements of vairagya, vidya, and bhakti. The more one has them, the higher that religion is. In the lower stages of human civilization, there is always competition to lord it over the material nature, or in other words, there is a continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. Driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. He thus performs pious activities or religious functions in order to gain something material. But if such material gains are obtainable in other ways, then so-called religion is neglected. This is the situation in modern civilization. So-called religion, because according to Bhagavatam, dharmasya hyapavargyasya. Dharma is meant for apavarga. Dharma is actually meant for moksha. Dharma is not meant for artha and kama. Artha and kama are just like side benefits. Just like when you work in a certain company, they may give you certain facilities with which you can comfortably work. They may give you a car, or they may give you a computer, they may give you a house, and so on. But we cannot become so obsessed with that we forget our actual work. That is the point. But when people do that, then their engagement in dharma is not the desired engagement in dharma. And therefore, it has to be referred to as so-called religion. This is the situation in modern civilization. Man is thriving economically. So at present, he's not very interested in religion. Churches, mosques, and temples are now practically vacant. Men are more interested in factories, shops, and cinemas than in religious places which were erected by their forefathers. This practically proves that religion is performed for some economic gains. Economic gains are needed for sense gratification. Often, when one is baffled in the pursuit of sense gratification, he takes to salvation and tries to become one with the Supreme Lord. Consequently, all these states are different types of sense gratification. In the Vedas, the above-mentioned 4 activities are prescribed in the regulative way so that there will not be any undue competition for sense gratification. Everybody wants to enjoy in this world, and those who are submissive to the one Supreme Godhead pray to Him for that. But whose prayer God will fulfill? Everybody is asking for everything. So therefore, He introduces a system of dharma, artha, kama, trivarga. You engage in certain activities, you get certain benefits. You engage in certain other activities, you get certain penalties. In that way, gradually we become disciplined, and you will find the rudiments of vairagya, vidya, bhakti in it. But Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratificatory activities. It is purely transcendental literature, which can be understood only by the pure devotees of the Lord, who are transcendental to competitive sense gratification. In the material world, there is keen competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. But the devotees of the Lord rise above such competitions. They do not compete with the materialists because they are on the path back to Godhead, where life is eternal and blissful. You can only compete when you both are aiming at the same result. If you're aiming at opposite things, then you cannot, how can you be competing with them? Such transcendentalists are non-envious and pure in heart. Nirmatsaranam satam. In the material world, everyone is envious of everyone else. Therefore, there is competition. But the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from material envy, but are well-wishers to everyone. And they strive to establish a competitionless society with God in the center. Competitionless society. Very nice it will be to have a community which is devoid of the inclination for competition. The contemporary socialist conception of a competitionless society is artificial because in the socialist state, there is competition for the post of dictator. From the point of view of the Vedas, or from the point of view of common human activities, sense gratification is the basis of material life. There are three paths mentioned in the Vedas. One involves fruitive activities to gain promotion to better planets. Another involves different demigods for promotion to the planets of the demigods. And another involves realizing the absolute truth and its impersonal feature and becoming one with him. The impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is not the highest. Above the impersonal aspect is the Paramatma feature, and above this is the personal feature of the absolute truth or Bhagavan. Srimad Bhagavatam gives information about the absolute truth in its personal feature. It is therefore higher than impersonal speculations and the Jnana-kanda division of the Vedas, what to speak of the Karma-kanda division. Srimad Bhagavatam is even higher than the Upasana-kanda because it recommends the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, the divine son of Vasudeva. In the Karma-kanda, there is competition to reach heavenly planets for better sense gratification, and there is similar competition in the Jnana-kanda and the Upasana-kanda. The Srimad Bhagavatam is superior to all of these because it aims at the supreme truth, which is the substance or the root of all categories. From Srimad Bhagavatam, one can come to know the substance as well as the categories. The substance is the absolute truth, the Supreme Lord, and all emanations are relative forms of energy. Nothing is apart from the substance, but at the same time, the energies are different from the substance. This conception is not contradictory. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates this simultaneously one and different philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra, which begins with the Janmadhyasya Sutra. This knowledge that the energy of the Lord is simultaneously one with and different from the Lord is an answer to the mental speculator's attempt to establish the energy as the absolute. When this knowledge is actually understood, one can see the conceptions of monism and dualism to be imperfect. Development of this transcendental consciousness, grounded in the conception of simultaneously one and different, leads one immediately to the stage of freedom from the threefold miseries. The threefold miseries are those miseries which arise from the mind and body, those miseries inflicted by other living beings, and those miseries arising from natural catastrophes over which one has no control. Notice this. The first type deals with miseries from the mind and body, which one can actually control fully. Then miseries inflicted by other living beings refer to miseries from those whom we can maybe partially control. But miseries from natural catastrophes are miseries from sources over which we have zero control. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of the devotee unto the absolute person. The devotee is fully aware that he is one with the absolute and at the same time in the eternal position of servant to the absolute. In the material conception, one falsely thinks himself the Lord of all he surveys, and therefore he is always troubled by the threefold miseries of life. Yes?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, like first Adhyatmic split, how it can be fully controlled? Like there are certain decisions which come as a result of karmic reaction.
No, those ones are Aditaivic.
Achha. Okay. So like what all can be controlled? And shed little light on that.
I can control my eyes. I can close my eyes. I close my eyes. I can move my hands. I can choose not to move my hands. We get miseries from everything, actually. From mind, from body. You can distract your mind to something else. These are all things which are within our control. So it covers the entire range of one's life experience for a conditioned soul. The devotee is fully aware that he is one with the absolute and at the same time in the eternal position of servant to the absolute. In the material conception, one falsely thinks himself the Lord of all he surveys, and therefore he is always troubled by the threefold miseries of life. But as soon as one comes to know his real position as transcendental servant, he at once becomes free from all miseries. As long as the living entity is trying to master material nature, there is no possibility of his becoming servant of the Supreme. Service to the Lord is rendered in pure consciousness of one's spiritual identity. By service, one is immediately freed from material encumbrances. Over and above this, Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal commentation. 1 minute. Encumbrance. Something that encumbers, impediment, burden, something that impedes, something that hampers the function, something that hampers the activity, something that hinders. Yes.
So when that stage comes, that we are completely freed from threefold miseries.
When it will fully come?
Yeah.
When we attain Prema Bhakti. Actually, when one Kleshagni happens, by the time one graduates from Sadhana Bhakti, that Rupa Goswami says that we attain that. That's all. Kleshagni, Shubhada. Okay, over and above this, Srimad Bhagavatam is a personal commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Sri Vyasadeva. It was written in the maturity of his spiritual life through the mercy of Narada. Sri Vyasadeva is the authorized incarnation of Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no question to his authority. He is the author of all other Vedic literatures, yet he recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam above all others. In other Puranas, there are different methods set forth by which one can worship the demigods. But in the Bhagavatam, only the Supreme Lord is mentioned. Worship of the Devas, along with worship of Vishnu, that has been presented in other places. Sadhyo Mukti, the pathway by which one gradually attains Vaikuntha by progressing step by step by step. First one goes to Devaloka, then it goes higher, 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 higher. So at each point he accepts the higher, the Vaishnavas who are in higher species as his guru. In that way he progresses. Even that is far superior to the endeavor to attain impersonal liberation. But Srimad Bhagavatam does not even talk about that. Bhagavatam talks about exclusive devotion service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead alone. The Supreme Lord is the total body and the demigods are the different parts of that body. Consequently, one who worships the Supreme Lord does not need to worship the demigods because the Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart of the devotee immediately. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended the Srimad Bhagavatam as a spotless Purana and distinguished it from all other Puranas. Proper method for receiving this transcendental message is to hear it submissively. A challenging attitude cannot help one realize this transcendental message. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. This word is Shushrushu. Wait. So, how does Prabhupada? Shushrushabhihi, by culture. So hearing is a culture. There is a particular culture of hearing. One particular word is used herein for proper guidance. This word is shushrushu. One must be anxious to hear this transcendental message. The desire to sincerely hear is the first qualification. So when it says culture, culture of hearing, shushrushu literally means by those who are desirous of hearing, by the culture of desiring to hear. And that hear means hear submissively. Less fortunate persons are not at all interested in hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Unfortunate people find enough time to hear idle social and political conversations, but when invited to attend a meeting of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they suddenly become reluctant, or they indulge in hearing the portion of the Bhagavatam they are unfit to hear. Sometimes professional readers of the Bhagavatam immediately plunge into the confidential topics of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which they interpret as sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning. Those who are fit to assimilate this work are mentioned in this shloka. One becomes qualified to hear Srimad Bhagavatam after many pious deeds. Prithvi Shushrushabhi. The intelligent person with thoughtful discretion can be assured by the great sage Vyasadeva that he can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas. One can be lifted immediately to the position of Paramahamsa simply by agreeing to receive this message. So Srimad Bhagavatam promotes Kevala Bhakti as executed by Nirapeksha Vaishnavas for the exclusive pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And it promotes a method by which we can directly engage in absolute complete Krishna consciousness and attain complete purification. 2. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shubhamukad amrita dravasam yutam vibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muharaho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. For expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Now, okay.
So in the previous sloka, it is written in the translation that Lord is established within his heart. So what is the meaning of established within his heart?
It means he is realized in the heart. He is realized in the heart.
How?
If you make spiritual progress, gradually our spiritual senses become activated, so we begin to perceive the Supreme Lord. That's all.
Spiritual senses means
the spiritual senses of the Jivatma become activated.
That material senses become spiritual senses?
No, the spiritual senses of the Jivatma become activated.
And those are different from material senses?
The Jivatma has its own name, form, qualities, activities, his spiritual masters, we are all part of Krishna's service. So we all have our respectful identities by Krishna's will. So
but we accept life.
Sorry?
We accept spiritual master now. The human
We accept
form.
what?
We already had spiritual master.
That's okay. That is for executing sadhana bhakti. Krishna provides us a spiritual master within the range of our physical sense perception. Okay, there's no need to think too much about all that. Don't worry. Krishna will handle all that. Everything will be worked out. इदानीं तु न केवलं सर्वशास्त्रेभ्यः श्रेष्ठत्वादस्य श्रवणं विधीयते अपि तु सर्वशास्त्र फलरूपमिदम् अतः परम आदरेण सेव्यमित्याह निगमेति. Previously it was stated that one should submissively hear this scripture because it is the best of all the scriptures. Now it is said not only for that reason, but one should also, with extreme respect, serve this scripture because it is the very fruit of all the scriptures. With this in mind, Sri Vyasadeva speaks the current text. Nigamo Veda. The word Nigama means Veda. Saeva Kalpataru. And that itself is a desire tree. Sarva Purushartha Upayatvat. Because the Veda helps one attain all the Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Ramanujacharya also mentions this in his commentary to Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The conditioned souls don't even know how to attain Kama, nor do they know how to attain Artha. Certainly, they don't understand how to attain Dharma or pious credits. And there's no question of even understanding how to get out of the cycle of birth and rebirth. Tasya phalam bhagavatam nama. And the fruit of this desire tree is Bhagavatam. Tattu Vaikuntha Naradena Aniya Mahyam Dattam. It has been brought by Narada Muni. It is in Vaikuntha and it has been brought by Narada Muni and given to me. Mayacha Shukasya Mukhe Nihitam. And I placed it in the mouth of Shuka. Tachatan Mukhad Bhuvi Galitam Shishya Prashishya Adirupa Pallava Paramparaya Shanaihi Akhandam Eva Avatirnam Na Tu Uchan Nipatena Sputitam Ityarthaha. And then it has Shukhamukad Amrita Dravasam Yutam Vipata Bhagavatam Nigamakarbhataro Galitam Phalam. It is fully matured. It is fully matured because it was in the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami. And it has been dropped by him from his mouth to the earth. Galita also indicates that. And then it comes down through the succession of disciples, grand disciples, and so on. And gradually it comes down to earth. But it comes down without being broken. Not that it is thrown from the above and it is smashed, broken apart. Etacha bhavishyadapi bhutavan nirdishtam. This is spoken of as if it is in the past tense, even though this is a process which will continue in the future also. Anagata akhyanenaiva asya shastrasya pravrittehe. Because the scripture talks about events that will also happen in the future. Ateva amrita rupena dravena samyuktam. Therefore, it is mixed with nectar. Lokehi shukhamukas prishtam phalam amritamiva swadu bhavati iti prasiddham. It's well known that a fruit which is touched by the mouth of a shuka, parrot, is experienced as being as relishable as nectar itself. Atra Shuko Munihi. Here Shuka refers to Shuka Muni, Shukadeva Goswami. Amritam Paramananda Saiva Dravo Rasaha. And the nectar that is spoken of here is supreme transcendental bliss. That itself is the drava, the soft and semi-solid portion of this fruit. That is actually rasa. Where is that? Where did I lose? Okay. Raso Vaisaha, Rasam Hyevayam Labdhva Anandi Bhavati iti Shrute. Because the Shruti says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is himself rasa, and by attaining this rasa, one becomes happy. Ato herasika rasagyaha. Therefore, all you people who know about this rasa, tatrapi bhavuka, hey rasa vishesha bhavana chatura, those who are capable of experiencing this rasa. So those who know about this rasa and those who are expert in relishing this rasa, these are the ones that Vyasadeva is addressing. Aho bhuvi galitam iti alabhya labhokti. This is now fallen to the earth. So this is an indication that something unprecedented, something that normally cannot be attained, has been attained. Idam bhagavatam nama phalam muhuhu pipata. Again and again, please drink this fruit named Bhagavatam. Nanu tvag ashtyadikam vihaya paladrasah piyate katham phalameva pataviyam tatraha. Now, usually one removes the skin, the seed, and all that, and then the juice from the fruit is what is drunk. But here, the fruit itself, Vyasadeva is saying, you drink the fruit. Rasam, rasarupam. The word rasam here indicates that the fruit of the desire tree itself is a juice. Catuspathi ashtyader, not here, heyamsha. Heyamshasya abhavat. That is because Bhagavatam is a fruit which does not have skin, seed, and similar elements which need to be thrown out. Phalameva krishnam vipata. So drink the entire fruit itself. Atraksha rasa tadatmi vivakshaya rasavat tvasya vikshitatvat गुणवचनेपि रसशब्दे मतुपः प्राप्य भावात् तेन विनैव रसं फलम् इति समानाधिकरण्यम्. That's a grammatical note. I'm leaving it out. तत्र फलम् इत्युक्ते पान असंभवे हेयांश प्रसक्तिश्च भवेत् इति तन्निवृत्त्यर्थं रसम् इत्युक्तं. रसम् इत्युक्तेपि गलितस्य रसस्य पातुमशक्यत्वात् फलम् इति द्रष्टव्यम्. That's the reason why it is referred to both as a fruit and as a juice. It is referred to as a fruit so that we can understand that it has been handed down person to person. If it is a juice, then the juice just flows like that. So therefore, it has also been referred to as fruit. Nacha bhagavatamritapanam mokshepi tyajyam. And don't stop drinking this nectar of Bhagavata when you attain liberation. With this in mind, he uses the word layam. Layo mokshaha. Layam refers to liberation. Abhividhav akara. And alayam means up to and including liberation. Layam abhivapya. Nahi idam swargadi sukhavan muktair upekshate kintu sevyate eva. The happiness of Swarga and so on are rejected by liberated souls. But this is not like that. This is served, relished by them. Pakshate hi. This will be stated. Atmaramascha munayo nirghanta pyurukrame kurvantya haitu kim bhaktim itham bhuta guno harihi. Okay. In the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulative principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond all this are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulated knowledge involves a gradual raising of the living entity to the spiritual platform. And the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. Every living entity, beginning from Brahma, the firstborn living being, within the material world down to the insignificant ant, desires to relish some sort of taste derived from sense perceptions. These sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. Such rasas are of different varieties. In the revealed scriptures, the following 12 varieties of rasas are enumerated: Raudra, anger; Adhuta, wonder; Shringara, conjugal love; Hasya, comedy; Veera, chivalry; Daya, mercy; Dasya, servitorship; Sakhya, fraternity; Bhayanaka, horror; Bibhatsa, shock; Shanta, neutrality; Vatsalya, parenthood. The sum total of all these rasas is called affection or love. Primarily, such signs of love are manifested in adoration, service, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. When these five are absent, love is present indirectly in anger, wonder, comedy, chivalry, fear, shock, and so on. For example, when a man is in love with a woman, the rasa is called conjugal love. But when such loving affairs are disturbed, there may be wonder, anger, shock, or even horror. Sometimes loving affairs between two persons culminate in ghastly murder scenes. Such rasas are displayed between man and man and between animal and animal. There's no possibility of an exchange or rasa between a man and an animal, or between a man and any other species of living being within the material world, because both will need to communicate and articulate their emotions in the same manner. So all those who love dogs should not scream now. But nobody teaches him. What does that mean?
So there are different types of knowledge mentioned in the Vedas.
Different types of
knowledge. Sorry.
different types of knowledge. Yes.
Yeah. Like religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, metaphysical. But they are disappeared now. Nobody teaches them, no?
Yeah, nowadays nobody believes in them. Nowadays nobody is interested in
Anyone interested in them, then
what?
if any kind of knowledge, just like
If someone wants to learn this, any one of this field of knowledge, what options we have?
Well, there are so many people. First of all, it's not that everything is lost. Some remnants are there. Ayurveda is going on, Jyotisha is going on, Vastu came back to life some 40 years back. There may be a revival of Vedic knowledge also. It appears to be. Screen is not shared. No, screen is shared. I'm looking at some ancient chat messages. I will not look. So it is coming. It is coming. The Indian government is now looking into Arthashastra and all that. I think the Western intelligence is also looking into this. Yeah, it is there. The rasas are exchanged between members of the same species. At least we should say the rasas are equally exchanged between the same species. Because even if you love a dog and a dog does love its proprietor, the dog does not articulate rasa in the same manner the human being normally articulates. And even dog owners who love their dogs, they talk to the dogs. The dog doesn't talk back in the same language that the human being talks. So it'll be hard to, because rasa has to be expressed through gestures, through speech, in so many ways. And if it is not, if you're not able to exchange it in the same manner, then both do not experience the same type of rasa. But as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual exchange or rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore described in the Shruti mantras, Vedic hymns, as the fountainhead of all rasas. When one associates with the Supreme Lord and exchanges one's constitutional rasa with the Lord, then the living being is actually happy. These Shruti mantras indicate that every living being has his constitutional position, which is endowed with a particular type of rasa, to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead. In the liberated condition only, this primary rasa is experienced in full. In the material existence, the rasa is experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary. Thus, the rasas of the material world are exhibited in the material form of Raudra, anger, and so on. Therefore, one who attains full knowledge of these different rasas, which are the basic principles of activities, can understand the false representations of the original rasas, which are reflected in the material world. The learned scholar seeks to relish the real rasa in the spiritual form. In the beginning, he desires to become one with the Supreme. Thus, less intelligent transcendentalists cannot go beyond this conception of becoming one with the spirit whole without knowing of the different rasas. In this shloka, it is definitely stated that spiritual rasa, which is relished even in the liberated stage, can be experienced in the literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam due to its being the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. By submissively hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. But one must be very careful to hear the message from the right source. Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly received from the right source because it was brought by Narada Muni from the spiritual world and given to his disciple Sri Vyasadeva. The latter in turn delivered the message to his son Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and Srila Shukadeva Goswami delivered the message to Maharaj Parikshit during the 7 days before the king's death. Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from his very birth. He was liberated even in the womb of his mother, and he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth. At birth, no one is qualified, neither in the mundane nor in the spiritual sense. But Sri Shukadeva Goswami, due to his being a perfectly liberated soul, did not have to undergo an evolutionary process for spiritual realization. Yet, despite his being a completely liberated person situated in the transcendental position above the 3 material modes, he was attracted to this transcendental rasa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by liberated souls who sing Vedic hymns. The Supreme Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls than to mundane people. Actually, only when we become liberated, we have a better understanding about Krishna's nature. This was the first time I read this. And this is a point that Prabhupada makes, not only here. He makes it here. He makes it in, it comes in the 2nd canto. Shukadeva Goswami himself says, he talks about this. So the first time I read it, I was very astonished that the Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls. He is of necessity, not impersonal, but it is only possible to carry on transcendental rasa with a person. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and the narration is systematically depicted by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Thus, the subject matter is appealing to all classes of persons, including those who seek liberation, to relish the humor of becoming one with the Supreme Whole. In Sanskrit, the parrot is also known as shuka. When a ripened fruit is cut by the red beaks of such birds, its sweet flavor is enhanced. The Vedic fruit, which is mature and ripened knowledge, is spoken through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who is compared to the parrot, not only for his ability to recite the Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from his learned father, but for his ability to present the work in a manner that would appeal to all classes of men. The subject matter is so presented through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami that any sincere listener who hears submissively can at once relish transcendental tastes which are distinct from the perverted tastes of the material world. The ripened fruit is not dropped all of a sudden from the highest planet of Krishna Loka, but rather it has come down carefully through the chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. Foolish people who are not in the transcendental disciplic succession commit great blunders by trying to understand the highest transcendental rasa, known as the rasa dance, without following in the footsteps of Shukadeva Goswami, who presents this fruit very carefully by stages of transcendental realization. One should be intelligent enough to know the position of Srimad Bhagavatam by considering personalities like Shukadeva Goswami, who deals with the subject so carefully. This process of disciplic succession of the Bhagavata school suggests that in the future also, for all time, Srimad Bhagavatam has to be understood from a person who is factually a representative of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. A professional man who makes a business out of reciting the Bhagavatam illegally is certainly not a representative of Shukadeva Goswami. Such a man's business is only to earn his livelihood. Therefore, one should refrain from hearing the lectures of such professional men. Such men usually go to the most confidential part of the literature without undergoing the gradual process of understanding this grave subject. They usually plunge into the subject matter of the rasa dance, which is misunderstood by the foolish class of men. Some of them take this to be immoral, while others try to cover it up by their own stupid interpretations, such as Krishna represents the Paramatma and the gopis represent the Jivatmas, and ultimately the Jivatmas need to be with the Paramatma before merging into the Paramatma. They have no desire to follow in the footsteps of Shukadeva Goswami. One should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of Rasa should receive the message of the Bhagavatam in the chain of disciplic succession from Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. 4. Naimishe nimisha kshetre rishaya shaunakadaya satram swargaya lokaya sahasra samamasata. Once in a holy place, in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by the sage Shaunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. It's a question here. What is the meaning of submissive hearing? Submissive hearing means we accept sarvametad ratam manye. I accept that whatever I am hearing is true. Correct. 1.2.17, Prabhupada also speaks about inoffensive hearing. Let's come to 1.2.17 and then we'll see there to see the context. I'll read this out, but I will only, I'll just summarize it, even though I'll read it out. Tadeva manena shlokatrayena vishishteshta devata anusmaranapurvakam karipsitasya shastrasya vishaya prayojanadi vaishishtyena sukhasevyattvena cha shrotrin abhimukritya shastram aravate naimishya iti. So in 3 verses, by meditation on the worshipable deity of the author, who has certain characteristics as been presented. And because of the special features of the subject matter, of the goal of this scripture and so on, it has been established that this scripture can be, and because it has been established that this scripture can be very comfortably relished, the author has attracted the attention of his audience. Now he actually begins the scripture. Naimishe brahmana visrishtasya manomayasya chakrasya nemishiryate kunthi bhavati yatra tan nemisham. Nemishameva naimisham tathacha vayaviye etan manomayam chakram maya srishtam visrajyate yatrasya shiryate nemi sadesha tapasah shubhaha ityuktva surya sankasham chakram srishtva manomayam pranipatya mahadevam visasarja pitamaha tepi shrishtat tama viprah pranamya jagatam prabhum prayayustasya chakrasya yatra nemir vyashiryat tadvanam tena vikyatam naimisham munipujitam iti. So first of all, Srila Vyasadeva, Srila Sridhar Swami finds in his reading Naimisha with the accent above the S, not a dot below the S. So then he gives a quotation from Vayu Purana, in which it is pointed out that Lord Brahma once created a disc made up of his mind, and the central point of that chakra that was thrown to a particular place, which is very auspicious for austerities. That chakra, that disc, shone like the sun. It was made out of his mind. He offered his obeisances to Mahadeva, Lord Shiva, and then he threw it. So then the Vipras, they became very happy. They offered their obeisances unto grandfather Brahma, and they went to that place where, what is this thing called? In a wheel, if you have a wheel, the central point of a wheel, what is it called? I forgot what it is. Is it called an axle?
Excellent.
So that had fallen into a particular place, and that place became famous as Naimisha, worshipped by the sages. Naimishe iti pathe Varaha Puranoktam drashtavyam तथा हि गौरमुखम ऋषिं प्रति भगवद वाक्यम एवं कृत्वा ततो देवो मुनिम गौरमुखम तदा उवाच निमिषेणेदं निहतं दानवं बलम् अरण्येऽस्मिंस्ततस्त्वेतन् नैमिषारण्य संगीतम् भविष्यति यथार्थं वै ब्राह्मणानां विशेषकम् इति. And then he considers the reading. He also has another reading, Naimishe, like what we see here, S with a dot below it. And for this, he refers to a quote from Varaha Purana, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead spoke to a sage named Gauramukha. Just by his blinking, he had destroyed the strength of a Danava. In a particular forest, and therefore that forest became known as Naimisharanya. It would be known, he actually said that it would be known as Naimisharanya. It would specifically be beneficial for the Brahmanas. Animisha Kshetre contains the word Animisha, which refers to Sri Vishnu. Animisha Sri Vishnu. Alupta Drishtitvat, because he never blinks, because it has the sense that he is constantly seeing things. Tasya Kshetre. Tatacha atra eva shaunagadi vachanam kshetresmin Vaishnave vayam. So this place, Naimisharanya, is a Vaishnava place. It's a Vaishnava spot. This would be noted by Shaunaka and others later on. Kshetresmin Vaishnave vayam. First canto itself. Swargaya is derived from the word Swaha. Swar. And Swargaya refers to Hari. And he himself is the Loka, or Lokaya comes from the word Loka, which indicates that he is the residence for his devotees. So Swargaya Lokaya indicates that these sages had performed this sacrifice in order to attain him. And they engaged in a sacrificial performance which would last for 1,000 years. The prelude of the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in the previous 3 shlokas. Now the main topic of this great literature is being presented. Srimad Bhagavatam, after its first recitation by Shukadeva Goswami, was repeated for the second time at Naimisharanya in the Vayaviya Tantra. Okay, so Vayaviya refers to a Tantra, not Vayu Purana. It is said that Brahma, the engineer of this particular universe, contemplated a great wheel which could enclose the universe. The hub of this great circle was fixed at a particular place known as Naimisharanya. Similarly, there is another reference to the forest of Naimisharanya in the Varaha Purana, where it is stated that by performance of sacrifice at this place, the strength of demoniac people is curtailed. Uvasha nimishena edam nihatam danavam balam. Aranya Yasmin. Okay. Thus, Brahmanas prefer Naimisharanya for such sacrificial performances. The devotees of Lord Vishnu offer all kinds of sacrifices for his pleasure. The devotees are always attached to the service of the Lord, whereas fallen souls are attached to the pleasures of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that anything performed in the material world for any reason other than for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu causes further bondage for the performer. It is enjoined, therefore, that all acts must be performed sacrificially for the satisfaction of Vishnu and his devotees. This will bring everyone peace and prosperity. The great sages are always anxious to do good to the people in general, and as such, the sages headed by Shaunaka and others assembled at this holy place of Naimisharanya with the program of performing a great and continuous chain of sacrificial ceremonies. Forgetful men do not know the right path for peace and prosperity. However, the sages know it well, and therefore, for the good of all men, they are always anxious to perform acts which may bring about peace in the world. They are sincere friends to all living entities, and at the risk of great personal inconvenience, they are always engaged in the service of the Lord for the good of all people. Lord Vishnu is just like a great tree, and all others, including the demigods, men, siddhas, charanas, vidyadharas, and other living entities, are like the branches, twigs, and leaves of that tree. By pouring water on the root of the tree, all the parts of the tree are automatically nourished. Only those branches and leaves which are detached cannot be so satisfied. Detached branches and leaves dry up gradually, despite all watering attempts. Similarly, human society, when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered. And one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resources. The modern materialistic society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord, and all its plans, which are being made by atheistic leaders, are sure to be baffled at every step. Yet they do not wake up to this. In this age, the congregation chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the prescribed method for waking up. The ways and means are most scientifically presented by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and intelligent persons may take advantage of his teachings in order to bring about real peace and prosperity. Srimad Bhagavatam is also presented for the same purpose, and this will be explained more specifically later in the text. 5. The ekadatu munaya pratarhutavtagnaya satkritam sutamasinam taprachur idam adarat. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Suta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. Anen Nityanaimitika Homasakaliyam Darshitam. So these sages were performing all of their daily rituals as well as the occasional rituals. Idam Akshamanam Adarat Paprachu. So they inquired with great respect. Morning is the best time to hold spiritual services. The great sages offered the speaker of the Bhagavatam an elevated seat of respect called the Vyasasana, or the seat of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva is the original spiritual preceptor for all men, and all other preceptors are considered to be his representatives. A representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva impregnated the message of the Bhagavatam unto Sri Shukadeva Goswami, and Sri Suta Goswami heard it from him, Sri Shukadeva Goswami. All bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in the chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. These Goswamis restrain all their senses and they stick to the path made by the previous Acharyas. The Goswamis do not deliver lectures on the Bhagavatam capriciously. Rather, they execute their services most carefully, following their predecessors, who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning, but this should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. One must learn the transcendental subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, these sages address the speaker, Suta Goswami, with great respect. 6. Vishaya Uchu. Vayakhalu Puranani Setihasani Chanagha. Akhyatanyapyathitani Dharmashastrani Yanyuta. The sages said, respected Suta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. This is actually the first half of a sentence. The next verse presents the second half of that sentence. You are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and the histories as well. Or you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. If you take the two verses together, then the meaning is whatever Badarayana or Vyasadeva knows, that you know. So Vyasadeva, he has studied these scriptures, he has explained these scriptures along with the Puranas, histories. These scriptures refer to Dharma Shastras. Dharma Shastras are scriptures which give right directions to progressive life. So all of that you have also done and you also know by his mercy. That is the point. So they want to learn different things, and Shaunaka and the others, they first of all talk about the extensive knowledge of Suta Goswami. They do this in 3 verses beginning with text 6. The Itihasa or the history refers to Mahabharata and so on. Not only had he studied, he had also explained. He had also studied and explained the Dharma Shastras. A Goswami or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva must be free from all kinds of vices. The 4 major vices are illicit connection with women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling of all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana who is not spotless in character and who is not freed from the above mentioned vices. He should not only be freed from all such vices, but must also be well versed in all revealed scriptures or the Vedas. The Puranas are also parts of the Vedas, and histories like the Mahabharata or Ramayana are also parts of the Vedas. The Acharya or the Goswami must be well acquainted with all these literatures. So from the verse itself we can understand. The Suta Goswami was well versed in the Dharma Shastras. Dharma Shastras are 20 in number. At least the major ones are 20, beginning with Manu Samhita, Yagyavalkya Smriti, and so on. Itihasas refer to Ramayana, Mahabharata, Valmiki Ramayana, and Vyasadev's Mahabharata. The Puranas are Satvika, Rajasic, Tamasic. All of these appear in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's curriculum of study. The Acharya or the Goswami must be well acquainted with all these literatures. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravana and explaining is called Kirtana. Okay. Who had a question?
Prabhuji, as it is said that one should not sit on Vyasasana, one should not be allowed to sit on Vyasasana if he is not spotless in character, free from 4 vices, and not fully versed with all scriptures. But we see that there are places even in some of our temples where devotees are less. So this is happening. Can this be done, or if it can be done, what way or what else can be done?
But at least they should have read Prabhupada's books, which contains the essence of these scriptures. Something is better than nothing.
So also one more thing, I heard that when sitting on the Vyasasana, we should not seek the blessing of the assembled Vaishnavas because we are representing Vyasadeva like that.
Well, you see, Sutta Goswami is very respectful to Shaunaka and others. He seeks their blessings. Later we'll see, first canto itself. Well, just because you are a representative of God doesn't mean that you have some two horns and some wings and well, it means nothing. Everybody is meant to become a representative of Vyasadeva. So what's the big thing about it?
No, like someone is saying like I am not qualified to the class on Bhagavatam, but for my self purification, I am doing like this.
Yes.
We should not.
Correct. Yeah, sadhakas, we need to accept that. Sadhakas need to accept that. It's a fact. Sadhakas will need to accept that.
So we should not say.
We should say.
No, we should say. Of course we should say. What is the problem there?
The Maharaj was saying that because we are representing Vyasadeva, so we should not say like this by sitting on the Vyasasana.
Not necessarily. We find Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami offers his obeisances to the audience in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's representing the 6 Goswamis. The two processes of Shravan and Kirtan are of primary importance to progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. 7. Yani Vedavidam Shrestho Bhagavan Badarayana Anye Munaya Suta Paravara Vido Viduhu. Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Suta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead, and you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. The original senior most scholar of the Vedas is Vyasadeva, the incarnation of Godhead. And because Suta Goswami was specially favored by him, he can also be referred to as the eldest learned Vedantist of his generation. So whatever Vyasadeva knows, that you also know. Whatever the sages know about the superior and inferior aspects of the absolute truth, which refer to is personal and impersonal features. Whatever sages who know about this, they know, you know that also. Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentation on the Brahma Sutra or the Badarayani Vedanta Sutras. It is called natural because Vyasadeva is the author of both the Vedanta Sutras and Srimad Bhagavatam, or the essence of all Vedic literatures. Besides Vyasadeva, there are other sages who are the authors of 6 different philosophical systems, namely Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Patanjali, Jaimanya, Ashtavakra. Theism is explained completely in the Vedanta Sutra, whereas in other systems of philosophical speculations, practically no mention is given to the ultimate cause of all causes. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, before starting any class, this reciting of Mangalacharan, sometimes sometimes some of the prayers are common among various speakers, but many times there are different slokas, their choice. So, is there some standard introduced by Prabhupada that these are the prayers of Mangalacharan which we have to do before starting a
No,
class?
no. Prabhupada didn't bother about this.
So
And
it's like,
yeah, I mean, that's up to the speaker.
okay, bro.
We can't intrude into their privacy too much. In other systems of philosophical speculations, practically no mention is given to the ultimate cause of all causes. One can sit on the Vyasasana only after being conversant in all systems of philosophy so that one can present fully the theistic views of the Bhagavatam in defiance of all other systems. Srila Suta Goswami was a proper teacher, and therefore the sages at Naimisharanya elevated him to the Vyasasana. Srila Vyasadeva is designated herein as the personality of Godhead because he is the authorized, empowered incarnation. 8. Vethatvam saumya tat sarvam tatvatastad anugraha bhuyu snigdhasya shishyasya guravo guhyamapyuta. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have scientifically learned from them. The secret of success in spiritual life is in satisfying the spiritual master and thereby getting a sincere blessings. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has sung in his famous 8 stanzas on the spiritual master as follows. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Only by his satisfaction can one please the personality of Godhead. And when he is dissatisfied, there is only havoc on the path of spiritual realization. It is essential, therefore, that a disciple be very much obedient and submissive to the bona fide spiritual master. Srila Suta Goswami fulfilled all these qualifications as a disciple, and therefore he was endowed with all favors by his learned and self-realized spiritual masters, such as Srila Vyasadeva and others. The sages of Naimisharanya were confident that Srila Suta Goswami was bona fide. Therefore, they were anxious to hear about him. It is important to check whether the person from whom you are learning the scriptures has the various credentials, including the credential of having received the non-duplicitous blessings of his spiritual authorities. Spiritual authorities who are genuinely doing their duty. Text 9. Tatra tatranjusha yushman bhavata yad vinishchitam. Pumsam ekantata shreyas tanna shamsitum arhasi. Please, therefore, being blessed with many ears, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Anjasa. Ekantata Shreya, Avyabhichari Shreya Sadhanam. The unadulterated means to attain the greatest benefit in life. You know what that is. So please explain to us in a simple manner, easily understandable manner. Okay, the purport we'll see tomorrow. Anything else? Otherwise, we'll close up. Okay. Anshakal Putra Vyakshaka Pasan Dubhya Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.